Hello, hello, wherever you are in the world. This is the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show, and my name is Agnes van Rijn. I am the founder of the Woman Who Makes Things Happen show and the owner of Success on Your Own Terms. Today, it is my great pleasure to interview someone that I don't know for once. Dawn Westmoreland, and I'm going to discover her together with you. Let me briefly introduce Dawn. Dawn Westmoreland empowers people who have disempowerment in their lives through coaching, consulting, speaking, hypnotherapy, and workshops. She shares the lessons and wisdom of her story to teach others how to step into their own personal power so they can live happier and more empowered lives. In a recent interview, Dawn was commended for turning a bad situation into something good for others after she alerted the federal government to actions of her managers at the VA where she worked, alleging favoritism for hiring and training that advanced only select individuals. Her book, The Empowered Whistleblower, is a story of struggle, trauma, and triumph. Welcome, Dawn. So good to have you.
Oh, pleasure to be with you.
How are you?
I'm doing very good this morning.
So, tell me your story. I'm so eager. Well, I read your bio, but I'm very eager to hear your story and how you made your dream come true.
Well, I like to share that sometimes our gifts that we receive are gifts that come in ugly wrapping paper. And I had worked in the government, our big government, U.S. government, for 25 years. I'm retired from the Air Force, and I've been retired 10 years. And then I did a little bit of education, going to school and such. And then I ended up working in the Veteran Affairs. I went to work in the Veteran Affairs when our economy was not doing so good back in 2008, 2009. So with my background, I have 22 years background in human resources, and I have several degrees in management and HR. I noticed the first thing that our VA, which is the Veteran Affairs that I was working in, was practicing nepotism, which is hiring of family and friends. Well, in the U.S. government, that's illegal. So I spoke out and I reported my management after I talked to them, and they would not change their ways. And they came after me. They came after me for reporting them. So I went through 2 years of horrific bullying.
Wow.
And it was pretty ugly. It was some of the worst bullying in North Carolina. So I reached out to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission and filed charges of disability discrimination because I'm a disabled military veteran. And I was being denied a lot of my medical rights and such, and more retaliation after that. They tried to fire me. And a whole bunch of different things happened. Mm-hmm. So after 2 years of horrific things happening to me, I ended up in the mental health ward, in the Veteran Affairs Mental Health Ward in Asheville, North Carolina. Now, mind you, there's only 4 beds there for female military veterans, only 4 beds in the mental health ward. And I took one of those beds. I wasn't suicidal, but I was very tired, very broken down. I had dealt with some really mean things happening to me for 2 years. And there's all kinds of ways to be bullied. You know, I felt like I was being stalked. I could hear machinery noise on my phone. I would call certain people and I couldn't get through. And, you know, I'd ask for my medical rights to get medical care. I was denied. I was put on what we call administrative leave for over 100 days while the management tried to fire me. But you know, I'm a strong person. I spent 20 years in the Air Force with a bunch of men. And when I went in 1985, I think there was 11% female. When I got out, there's 22%. Mm-hmm. So I jokingly say, you know, it took me 10 years to get tough and 10 years to get softer once I got out of the Air Force. So I checked myself out of the mental health ward after the 3rd day. And I realized that all the bullies in my life were not even comparable to the bully inside me. And I say that, humbly, that the bully inside me was the one that was buying into all the victimhood. Sure, things were rough. They were very rough. I was, my paycheck got cut off, and, I lost what I knew as a pretty nice life. But really, in the end, it set me free because I realized that, I could take charge of my life. I was responsible for my life. It was time to take 100% accountability of my life. And so let's say, fast forward it, I settled with Veteran Affairs. I had an attorney who worked with me, even though I didn't have hardly any money. And we settled back in March of 2014. We settled 2 days before the hearing. We would have went to an Equal Employment Opportunity Commission hearing with the admin judge. So I refused to sign what we call a gag order, where I could not talk about my situation. I had a very well-documented case. And that's, 22 years of HR and my background. So it prepared me. And I tell people that, I was the perfect person to go through this because, I am a very strong person, even though, I end up in the mental health ward. After 2 years of harassment, anybody could end up in the mental health ward. So a year after, let me back up. When I settled with the Veteran Affairs, the first thing I thought of is I would give anything to stand in front of our U.S. Congress or Senate and tell them that their whistleblowing laws do not protect people like myself. And what do you know? Almost 1 year ago, or 1 year later, let me fast forward. 1 year later, I was sent to our United States Senate back in April of this year. And I was one of the people on a team for Concerned Veterans for America. They paid for me to go up there, and I ended up talking to about 10 senators for the need of protecting people like myself. In fact, I was in Bernie Sanders' office the day after he said he was going to run for president. So he got that going. And of course, I wrote a book, The Empowered Whistleblower, about my own disempowerment and how I overcome it, and how oftentimes the gift can be in really ugly wrapping paper. So all of this really pushed me forward to get way out of my comfort zone, to be an entrepreneur, to be a coach, to get out and to speak, to help, to do advocacy, to get on the radio, magazine interviews, and get out there and help people to find their voice, their strength, and their personal power.
Wow. What a story. A story. So something that could have completely weakened you, in fact, has completely made you stronger. So all about resilience, and all about also, I can see a different story, but a parallel with what I have been doing myself. Last year when I left a toxic relationship is what I hear you say is that you also went inside to look for what role you had played into it to attract that. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, exactly. When I wrote my book, I took myself back to my childhood. And, as a young child, I was molested as a child. And that kind of shaped me to be very, much more introverted. And, I looked through the lens of being a victim most of my life. I attracted victim-like episodes, events in my life. I married an alcoholic. I attracted more bullies in my life. And it was not until I changed my thinking, I reframed thoughts, my belief system, and realized, hey, I can take charge of my life. Not everything is pretty and nice right now, but I have I have so much going for me. Because even when I was very broke and the Veteran Affairs cut my payoff, I still found ways to be creative in the kitchen, and I had a lot of laughs of, how to make beans and rice a little bit tastier. So it really taught me to be more resilient. It taught me to be more independent. And it's now, now I'm a voice for others that are trying to find their strength, their voice, and their power.
So you started your business while all of that was going on. You didn't wait for it to be finished. Am I right in what you're saying, in my understanding?
Well, as I was going through all this, I had this sense of I was supposed to go through this. This is my journey to take. This was my experience. And so I realized through the middle of it, even though I was really miserable, you're pretty miserable when you lose just about everything and you have to sell a, really nice house because you can't pay your bills. I knew that I would be doing something about it, like writing a book. In fact, 1 week after I settled with the Veteran Affairs, I, became a coach. I went through the training. I went through IPAC coach training in the U.S., and that was a year-long program. So I became a coach. I'd already been a hypnotherapist. I had become certified about 4 years ago in that because I saw the benefits on how it, helped us, how it helped me to maintain my stress levels and such. But yeah, at the end, I'm like, well, I'm supposed to go through this. This is my journey, and this is going to set me free. And it really did.
Wow, that's super. So, did you working as a coach, is that something that was already on your mind for a while, or is that in that process that you decided at some point to go for it? I mean, was it a long time dream already, or how did it come up?
Well, I've done advocacy work for many years. I mean, I'm pretty much humanitarian, and I was raised in a humanitarian family. It was really toward the end of everything, before we settled, the attorney and I settled with the Veteran Affairs. Then it's just kind of like I had an epiphany, and I realized, what? I want to learn how to be a coach and get out there and help other people. I mean, I've been a mentor for years, in the Air Force. I've been in a lot of leadership special duties. So I've already been a mentor, but being a coach is different. A coach is not fixing somebody. It's just basically helping them to see the blocks in their life and then help facilitate with them the goals that they want to achieve. So I knew at the end that I knew I was going to write a book, absolutely. And, I kept writing the book in my head every day as I was about to settle with the Veteran Affairs. And they really tried to get me to sign a settlement order where I wouldn't talk about, my story. But I had such compelling documentation that if we had gone to the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, they would have had to face a judge, and who knows what could have happened at that point.
So I think I explained to you the purpose of this show. So the idea is that you can inspire other women who have dreams too to do the same. Can you, coming back now to making your coaching dream a reality, the beginning of that journey, so read about setting up the business, etc. How did it go for you? What did you find easy? What came naturally? What did you find difficult? How did it go?
Well, when you work for yourself, you find out really quick what you're good at and what you're not good at. Because I'd always worked for somebody else. I'm 51 years old. I spent 20 years in the Air Force. I worked 5 years with the Veteran Affairs. And then, I'd also had been an entrepreneur when I earned my horticulture degree, and I did some landscape design. So you really quickly learn, these are my strengths, what your strengths are. And then there's always, something there that you have the opportunity to grow. And people don't just line up because you become a coach one day. You got to get out there. You have to, have the right presence. You've got to market yourself or hire people to market you. And it can take time. And I find a lot of coaches in my area are struggling with coaching, because I believe they give up too fast. You get close to that gold mine, and maybe you're 20 feet from the gold mine and you think that all your results are not working. But, the people that give up at that point, they miss the gold. And for me, I've always realized, baby steps or, taking one action at a time, building, even though I might not see it. There are people that are inspired by what I do. I get calls all the time or private messages on Facebook or emails, people out of the blue will find me and tell me how inspiring I am. And, I even get business off of Facebook, surprisingly. Everybody said, social media is just for fun. Well, I market there. I find clients there. I've met some great friends there. So you just have to trust that everything that you're doing to work on your business is building the momentum. And you'll find out soon if it's not working, and you just cannot beat yourself up. You have to look at what's working, keep doing it. Even hiring a business coach. I mean, I hired a business coach even when I didn't have a lot of money. If you really value investing in yourself, and growing your business, you've got to find a coach. Now, that could be a business coach to help you with, setting the business up or getting the business along further. Or it could be someone like myself, a coach, because a lot of women, a lot of clients that I have, they all want to have more confidence. They deal with a lot of stress in their lives. They're multitasking. They're overwhelmed. And so, it might be that they need a life coach, that resonates with them, that can help them to, find their voice, find their strength, find their power by getting things organized and knocking out their fears or the blocks that are keeping them small.
Yeah, that's a recurring conversation that I'm having on those interviews. Mm-hmm. You're obviously preaching to the converted. And when I started my business 8 years ago, I often explain that in France, coaching was not for business owners at all. It really was only for, top level people in the corporate world, etc. If I would have known that coaching for business owners existed when I started, oh my God, I would have loved it. It would have saved me so much time. And as you say, for some it's about the business itself. For some, it's about the mindset. For others, it's about the clarity, the confidence. There are many ways that we can be helped to move forward. And getting the support we need is really making so much of a difference. If we come back to what you were mentioning about they stop too early. I suspect that you must have had moments of doubt yourself as well, like we all do. So what would you recommend to women facing those situations? How have you handled that?
Well, I talk about it all the time. We all are going to have fear. I mean, I dealt with a lot of fear when I went through my VA situation, my Veteran Affairs, event. I had a lot of fear, but I kept moving through it. So the thing is when you're fearful, whether you take action or not, you're still going to face some fear. And fear can be very healthy for you. So I was writing a story yesterday. I was talking about how fear can hold us small and captive in our lives, and we're not, getting out there and sharing our talents and our gifts with the world. So, for example, if you were somebody that wants to get out and speak, get out there and be a speaker, and part of you says, "Oh no, don't do that. You're going to mess up, or you're going to embarrass yourself, or people are going to laugh at you, or people are going to talk behind your back." Well, that's the ego keeping you small. And so what I would tell people in a situation like that, okay, first of all, that fear has protected you, and you can acknowledge it. You can thank it. Hey, thank you. You can even name it something. You can name it a gremlin, the fearful gremlin. And you can tell that gremlin, that fear, hey, thank you. Thank you for supporting me in the past. You protected me. You kept me from being embarrassed and getting out there. But, I don't need you any longer, so hit the road. And you can make it as fun as you want to. Hit the road, divorce that fear, divorce that gremlin, and recognize that, okay, so maybe you might want to polish up on your speaking abilities, take some lessons, join Toastmasters, but you've got it. And so just let go of that fear and move through it and know it's okay. And once you bust through that fear, it's so liberating.
You remind me of a story all of a sudden, a story of something that I was coached on I don't remember exactly when, but a while ago. And it was about fears. And Dre Madile, who is an amazing coach who just moved to France and that I'm going to interview once she has settled, was coaching me through it. And I do remember that, well, I mean, I was going to say we all use the same process, not necessarily all of us, otherwise it would be known. But I use that process myself, of course, with others, but it's not the same when it's for us. And she said to me that, okay, thank them for the support, blah, 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 etc. And then she said, send them on holiday. And so I went to the world map and I picked a very small island. I will never meet them again because I don't even remember the name of the island. It was funny. It really was funny. So I sent them on holiday, made sure that it was a place where it was comfortable enough for them to wanting to stay.
Love it.
Not return, but with not enough, planes going and coming, etc. That I would be tempted to go on holiday there. We made it fun. It really was, and it worked extremely well.
Oh, there's a million ways to do it, and I say have a little bit of fun with it because when you can laugh at it, it just makes the process, moving through fear so much easier than taking it so serious.
That's something that I noticed with you. You have a very smiling face and you laugh a lot. And so is that something that you're using with your clients, with the work you do?
When I talk about my work and what I do, I really feel very passionate. And I like helping people. I love helping to liberate them because every one of us have a gift in us. We all have talents and nobody's better than anyone else. So a lot of times people say, well, you're so strong, Dawn, and you've got all this strength and you have all this knowledge. And I do have certain gifts and certain talents, and I'm really grateful and humbled when I get to use them and help others. Nothing makes me happier or feel better. It's very heartfelt for me when somebody says that my book helped them. It helped them to get along better with their children or to understand why they felt insecurity all their lives, or my coaching or my hypnotherapy. When people say that it helps them, that's very rewarding. I've always been a people person all my life.
Well, with that much experience in HR as well, it must have been, yeah. So talking about the people you work with, who are your clients? You already told us that you find clients in Facebook, but who are the people working with you?
Well, sometimes, I meet them. I live in Asheville, North Carolina in the mountains. So sometimes they're local. Sometimes I find them on Facebook. Sometimes they find me on my website. So the beautiful thing with the work I do, thank goodness for the internet, I can work with anybody, anywhere, by phone or Skype. And no matter what I do, whether it's hypnotherapy, I can do over Skype or phone, do it all the time. And coaching too, I can do phone, Google Hangouts or Skype. So people reach out to me on my website. I have a contact form. They'll reach out to me and I'll have, a little consultation, a complimentary 20-minute consultation or discovery session. And just one thing that I've always been very good at, and people mention all the time, I'm very intuitive. So, for example, if somebody comes to me and they say, well, I'm really stressed out, but I don't know why I'm stressed out, I have a very fast way and a very easy way for me to get down to the core of the issue. And, that it's really liberating to that person when they realize, what is going on in their life that is making them stressed out. And sometimes it's unconscious.
Yeah, quite often it is unconscious even. I mean, once we start erasing the level of awareness. There is less unconscious stuff, of course, but for most people that we work with, at least that's my experience, so much of what's happening to them, they're not even conscious of it. Yeah.
No.
So coming back to your the way you set up your business, etc. What did you find most difficult in that process? What type of challenges have you been facing?
Well, with my coaching, basically, if you have a phone and the internet, you have a pretty good start and business cards. Well, I think the hardest thing with anybody that doesn't have like a storefront or an office, with a sign outside on the street, you got to get out there and you have to let people know what pains that you solve. Their pains.
Mm-hmm.
What benefits do you give people? How can you help them? So in a sense, you're selling yourself too, because people that resonate with you are going to reach out to you. So just getting out there and building a clientele, it takes time. And I don't know of any coach of any kind, business or life coach, that just starts one day and then they have, all this clientele. So, you just start, and if you get happy clients, then they start telling their friends, and then they reach out, and it just starts to build and build and build. And so I just get out there and I do a lot of different things. I get on the radio. I love radio talking, and I love these kind of interviews. And our local paper's doing an article on me right now, which will bring more awareness to what I'm doing. I get out and I network. I find networking, getting out there in professional networking groups, to be very beneficial, because you're getting out there, you're putting the energy out there. You're also making relationships. And I think one of the things that people struggle with, I was talking about this recently, is sometimes people will just, I call it spray and pray. They're just promoting, and praying somebody's going to hire them. But you have to establish a relationship with people. And when somebody just comes after me, no matter how good their products or services, and they're not trying to, get to know me better, my needs, build a relationship, it's such a turnoff. And it's so easy, when you're starting out, it's scary. I mean, I was scared too. It's scary because you're going to like, oh my gosh, am I ever going to get a client? Oh my gosh, am I going to get enough clients? But if you really take that, the time and the energy to be authentic, and I'm very heart-based myself, people see that. And the people that resonate with that, they're going to come and they're going to hire you. And if they can't hire you right then and there, there'll be a time and place where they'll reach out to you when they're ready.
Absolutely. What I find interesting, you're pointing at something that I find a lot of people who want to develop their work on the internet may have a misconception around. You do get out. You are meeting real people. I have a lot of, we tend to say coaches, but there are not only coaches out there, of course. It can be any other type of service-oriented type of business. But believe that they can work internationally, that they can work virtually, etc., just by the sake of being visible on the internet. But it might be true for some to some extent, but I do believe that you need to go out into real life as well. You were mentioning the referrals. You were mentioning how you're creating contact with people, building those relationships. And of course now with video, you can do more of it virtually. But still, the real life contacts are really making a difference. So going to networking events, etc., reaching out to people, giving, and sometimes also I think, as you mentioned, this notion of will I get a client? Will I get a client? Will I get a client? Forget it. If you give enough, if you're authentic, they will come to you. And again, that's what you say. you irradiate some kind of a vibration that just attracts the same vibration with the person. Yeah.
Absolutely, because everything's about energy, and people pick up that energy. If you're desperate, they sense it, they pick it up. And if you are heartfelt and, here's what I do, and you connect with that person, they're ready, because they've got to be ready. They've got to be ready to roll their sleeves up and, to look at their life and take 100% accountability in their life with, the work I do. I always say there's no magic blue pill. I don't just liberate you. All I do, I'm just the tool to help, so you see your blocks, so you can realize, what's been holding you back all this time, what's been keeping you, from being great in relationships, attracting the right partners, or, being in the right job. That's all I am, is a tool.
A very pleasant tool, an efficient tool, apparently. So, what's interesting in what you're saying as well is this notion of being ready. I did mention it at some point in one of the interviews. I've experienced it myself. At some point, I enrolled in a one-year mastermind that costed me $25,000.
Oh, yeah.
and I didn't get out of it what I could have gotten out of it, and it had nothing to do with the program. I wasn't ready to do the job and look inside. So readiness is really a key. I know personally that for me, probably because I've spent enormous amounts of money on getting the support I needed, etc. But never, I wouldn't say for nothing. That's not true, because of course it's helpful, but not to the extent that it could have helped me. I want to work with people who are ready to do the work, because that's where the difference will come from. The other thing that I find interesting in what you're saying is this notion of accountability. A lot of people, maybe it has to do with the being ready. Believe in the magic blue pill, as you say, exactly. So it's fun. I'm passionate about what I'm doing. And that's something we were quickly talking about before starting this interview. A lot of people will just get started with their business because they're passionate about something, and they forget that if they want a business to be successful, you need to run it as a business. And a lot of people don't see that. And there are ways. I mean, setting up a business doesn't have to be, only about results, money. It's giving you or sustaining, as I say in the work I do, having a business that sustains the life that you want to have. And if you don't want to, be flying in a jet or whatever, it may not need to be that much, but still it's a business. You need to commit to it. And
otherwise, it's a hobby if you're not running it properly.
And definitely it can be a very expensive hobby. I've been there.
Yes, it can be very expensive. Yes.
So, as usual, I'm getting conscious of time. Before I forget, where can people find you?
Well, I'm on Facebook under Dawn. And Dawn's like the morning, DAWN, Murray Westmoreland. And you can also find me, my webpage is also my name, DawnMurrayWestmoreland.com. And also the empoweredwhistleblower.com is another website where anybody can get a copy of my first chapter of my book complimentary too. So I'm on Twitter under Dawn Respect. And I'm on Google Hangouts too under my name, Dawn Westmoreland too. So I'm always looking to connect with great people, like-minded people, and I'm always providing lots of free material. And sometimes you may get a free hypnosis download or, some great tips on workplace bullying. So I'm pretty well-rounded. I get out there and I do a lot of things that help to empower people.
Thank you. So in any event, I will add the link to your website, and I suppose that your website leads to all the other contacts that you have on social media, etc. Okay.
Yes.
Super. Do you have a last tip or whatever that you would want to share with the listeners?
Yeah, one thing I love to share with people, because, I dealt with my own insecurity and my own self-loathing for years, after being molested as a child and being so introverted and attracting, so much negativity into my life. The thing is that you've got to get the help no matter where you go. Somebody that can help you, something that resonates with you, whether it's a coach, a pastor, a priest, a mentor, somebody professional, hypnotherapist. Get the help to heal and put your past behind you, because you've got to believe in yourself more than others believe in you to get ahead. And that's in everything in your life, whether it's relationships, your job, your personal life. People can tell you all day long how great you are and all your talents. But the bottom line is, if you don't believe in it, then that's going to keep you stuck. So if you have a past that needs to be healed, I would encourage you to get that healing. And writing the book for me was very healing and very grounding. So believe in yourself more than others believe in you. That's my last tip.
Thank you so much, Dawn. So before we close this interview, the recording will be made available, as is always the case, on a Monday. The release is on Monday next week, so the 6th of July. It will be available on my website, anyesvanrijn.com, and that is ANYESVANRHIJN.com, and just go to the tab in the navigation bar, WWMTH interviews. The recording will be available in both audio and video format for 1 week, after which it will be moved to the archives. Announcing the next person, my next guest, that is on July the 13th. And that is a should be, because I'm struggling to find slots to work those interviews within the agendas of the people that I want to talk to. We should have Bené Dyer. Bené is a coach. I have worked with her, and she's also the creator of a tool that I'm using myself with my clients as well, Life Coach Office. So I really do hope that we can manage to find a slot to go through the recording of the interview before the 13th. If not, I will announce last minute who the guest is who will replace her. In any event, we will have her at one point or the other. Dawn, we did survive the heat.
Yes, we did.
Here. I'm dying. I don't know you, but I'm sweating. But in any event, thank you so much. I have really loved discovering you, and no doubt that we will stay in touch.
Yes, we will.
Enjoyed every moment of this. Thank you so much. Goodbye, everyone.